The federal government has directed enforcement agencies to stop articulated vehicles that fail to comply with minimum safety standards from plying the nation's highways. This directive came through the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. This was at the end of the summit on haulage transportation held in Abuja, where all the executive and managers of haulage in the country participated. We're supposed to have 2 haulage managers in the country here, but only one came, and that is the National President of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Alhaji Najim Usman Yassin. Thanks for joining me on Inside.
Thank you very much.
He also doubles as the Deputy National President of the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. Now, following this directive, how are organizations like yours, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, going to help or complement government's efforts towards achieving this?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to commend the SGF that initiates the haulage summit, which our union is part of the summit. And all the 18-point agenda that was adopted at that meeting, which is to be implemented by the federal government or the agencies that are attached to it. On our own part, we have already started sensitizing our members on how they should all abide by all these rules that was adopted at the end of the summit.
Okay. So when you say you're talking to your members, in which direction? Because it has to do with safety generally.
Yeah.
And your union, beyond just maybe daily commuting of passengers on the nation's highways, you also handle haulage, big trucks, all that. How do you intend to intensify this? You're huge.
If you look at, we have our unions. We control, as I said earlier, with the transportation of passengers and goods, excluding tankers drivers. They have their own union, the PTD, and on our own part, we have organs, states, branches, and all of this, and which, since the outcome of that meeting, we have called a meeting and tell them to make sure that they pass this message to the members, that is the membership, the members at the grassroots, okay, so that they can comply. Because the unfortunate incident that happened last year, it doesn't pray such unfortunate incidents to occur again. So everybody have a duty, a role to play to ensure the safety on our highways.
Okay, you also handle big trucks,
yeah,
not tankers.
Yeah,
and one of the worry by those of you in this business has been the fact that most of your members don't have the capacity to maybe maintain vehicles that are roadworthy on the roads.
Yeah.
Some of the vehicles are supposed to be off the roads.
Yeah. And
given the new policy now, it becomes a challenge to your members.
Yeah.
And one of the advocacy was that the need for government maybe to come up with a fund to assist your members, they pay over time. Are you working towards this?
Yeah, we are working towards it because we too have been preaching that any vehicle that is not roadworthy should not be put on road, because it should not go and endanger the life of innocent passengers that was carried. So, and then with the summit, with the pledge we made that we need an intervention fund at the transportation cycle, which the SDF said, and look, that the federal government will look something and do something into that direction. So I think if we had that, it will assist and make sure that we have vehicles that are durable and roadworthy to put on the highways.
But have you put in place maybe a template or a system on ground so that the government says, okay, we are ready, come and apply for this money, who and who qualifies? Are you working on something like that?
We are on it. We are working on it.
Okay, now let's go beyond the National Union of Road Transport Workers and look inwards. Haulage managers in Nigeria. At the end of this summit, do you people have plans to meet to harmonize, mostly towards this National Reserve Fund to assist in assisting mass transit managers to have up-to-date vehicles on the roads?
Yeah, you see, as I'm part of the summit, and the SGF even said that this meeting is going to be a continuous one, that will be bringing all the haulage managers in these countries together, and which I commend the SGF that this is the first time we have such kind of summit at the instance of the federal government. This is the first time. I told them since I became the president of this union, it's the first time we have a very crucial summit in that level that comprises everybody, not body, both at the petrol sector and everywhere, was put in place. And I feel, as the SGF have promised that it's going to be a continuous one, I think it will assist us, because it will be a forum where we'll be reviewing the past from where we had a meet to the next time. What happens? Have we seen changes or whatever? I think if this thing would have been doing, as I said, at that summit, it could have been something that could help this country in check these haulage managers. And I think, as what you said, that forum will bringing us together so that we can be able to discuss and address and assess this fund that we are taking off.
Okay, the last time we discussed on this program was ahead of the 2015 general elections, and you assured me then that you are working hand in sync with the independent National Electoral Commission towards maybe engaging the National Union of Road Transport Workers to take charge of the distribution of electoral materials in the country. How far have you gone with that policy, that arrangement?
As far as we are concerned, we have an MOU.
Were you involved in the just concluded the governorship elections?
Well involved there.
Okay.
People there provided the buses for the vehicles, for the logistics there. We have a meeting, and the chairman of the INEC said, after this election, we'll be able to sit down with the union and look at the MOU and see the areas to review or whatever, so that we can make sure that we put the MOU in preparation of the next election in 2009.
Now, INEC has engaged the National Union of Road Transport Workers for some elections now, right?
Yeah.
Since then and now, would you say your members have really improved in their services?
They are improving their services based on the experience of the last election. We have improved, and that is why we are trying to look at the area that will improve more.
Okay. So will you say that after your review meetings with INEC ahead of 2019, the National Union of Road Transport Workers will really be up to its bidding in terms of helping to transport electoral materials across the country?
Yeah, we are ever ready, because that is our profession. As I said in that meeting, the National Union of Road Transport Workers control 80% of the movement of passengers and goods in this country. And we have a branch in all the 774 local government of this country. We have the state offices in the 36 state council, including Abuja. We have the 6 zonal offices in the 6 geopolitical zones. And we have our headquarters here in Abuja, in Sapele Street, so where we coordinate the affairs of the organization. So we have the capacity, we have the will at the grassroots, everywhere, and at any instance, either by the local government, they need the vehicles, or the state, or this thing. And these vehicles belongs to us. These vehicles belongs to us. Okay. So we have the capacity of doing this assignment, and I assured the INEC chairman and the gathering that we'll try and do our best to make sure, because we take it as a responsibility that it is called to serve the country.
Okay, there's this concern that if the major ones don't come together to put in place a safety standard, an operational model, it may affect operations. For instance, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, National Association of Road Transport Owners, and the private ones like ABC, all that. Do you have plans to meet to come up with one safety code that will help your operations? Because if government is giving the directive, this directive is to all of you collectively. And one will expect that you will not work at cross purposes, you work together. So are you working towards coming together to develop a code?
That is the extent of that summit.
Okay.
That is the essence of that summit, and that summit is where it brings all of us together, and we have to work together to make sure that we achieve this. We achieve this. We have it.
What's your plan towards the Ember Months for 2018?
Our plan is to make sure that we as usual, we sensitize our members and make sure that, because that is the rush period, peak, where the movement from one place to the other, so, and which we are sensitizing our members so that they can abide by the rules or whatever agreed on about the safety on the highway. So we have been planning and we continue doing that.
Do you still have cases of unruly drivers in your midst?
You see, when you find
drivers who don't conform to the norms and ethics of good driving practice and code.
No matter in a society where you have to have some bad eggs. We cannot rule out those bad eggs, but what I know is that those that are compliant are more than those who are not compliant. And those who are not compliant, by the time we got them, we deal them according to the rules of the organization.
Okay, your clientele, talking about what the common word, your customers are huge in the country. They are both, for instance, at least you have attested to the fact that the National Union of Road Transport Workers, for some years now, has taken charge of, has the responsibility to convey electoral materials to various polling units and what have, meaning your union is involved in the electoral process, the electoral governance in Nigeria. What role can the public play to enhance your operations? For instance, I'm a passenger.
Yeah.
I join a vehicle managed by your union.
Yeah.
And I see that the driver is not doing well. The vehicle is not good, the systems are not good, his brake system is not working, the tires are worn out. How do I report this matter to the union? Is there a way to do this? Do you have a mechanism like that?
We have a mechanism like that because, as I told you, we have the branches in the 774 local government. And any vehicle that is going out of the parks, we're talking those who are taking people outside the parks. Any vehicle that is inside, that is boarding at the outlets in the various parks in the country, the leadership there, we have been directed on that they should not allow any vehicle that is not roadworthy to go out of that park. If your tire is not good, if your vehicle is bad or whatever, you shouldn't be allowed to go out of the park. They should use the next vehicle to board it. But that is where we are calling that any passengers, because those who go by the roadside are many, because a lot of them will not even come to the park. They prefer going to the roadside and pick and move. And those where you are having all these bad drivers and all those that are not complying with the sign. But those who goes out of the park, because they go, before they go out of the parks, we have our leadership there in the various parks should make sure that they are roadworthy and all these things. And that is the area we are saying anybody that is trying to board a vehicle shouldn't go to the roadside. Let him go to the designated motor parks and board a vehicle where they will take his address, his destination, where he's going and where he's coming from. And if there is any loss, he can be able to come back to that place and report, and they have to trace where his luggage is or property and get back to him.
So do you get reports about this on a daily basis?
We get reports, our parks get reports on a daily basis.
Okay. Now, let me take you to this question now. What are you doing about the issue of drug abuse at motor parks managed by your union? Drunkenness and drug abuse. We have cases where we have drivers who cannot engage on a trip without either taking something to charge up or taking some other thing to charge of. What are you doing about it?
We have directed our branches and even the security agencies in that area that nobody within the vicinity of the motor park should sell alcohol or drugs or whatever, because that is the area. By the time a driver comes to the parks and maybe he load and they are selling drugs there or drinks, he can run and say, let me just go and take a bottle before I engage on a trip, which is very delicate and very distinct. We make sure that if you go down, as I'm talking to you, go to the parks, you will not find where drugs or drinks are selling in the motor parks. Okay. Likewise, before we
still in line with this policy, yeah. What are you doing about your members not committing illegal passengers? Illegal passenger, for instance, let me use myself as an example. I traffic in human beings, and you are a national union of road transport workers. I meet you, you know about it, and you go ahead to transport the people I want to traffic. What are you doing about it so that you know? Because Nurtw is very, very much averse to this.
You see, we couldn't know, most especially the leadership in that various park. But what I believe is that if they know, they will hand over that such a person to security agencies. We have that under, because most of the parks have security agencies, both uniform and plain cloth, inside the parks, where if there is anything which is about, we cannot arrest, we cannot this thing, but when we suspect any suspicious movement or whatever, we allow the security people at that level and get those people arrested. And we have been doing so.
Over the years, the National Union of Road Transport Workers has been reputed to be one of the most organized unions in the country. Do you still have that in place?
Yeah.
And there's this big slogan you have, Up National
Progress.
Chop alone, die alone.
Yeah.
What does it translate? So how does it translate?
Before we said, chop alone, go away. But now, chop alone, you should pay back before you go. Because what we mean is that you should, if you have this thing, you have your people, make sure that you carry everybody along, and then you give what is due to A or B.
Okay, your last word for Nigerians and the motoring public to ensure safety, like the federal government has said here that enforcement agencies to stop articulated vehicles that fail to comply with minimum safety standards from plying the nation's highway. Last word, what message do you have to reinforce this?
My message to the Nigerian and the road users is to comply with all these rules and these policies that's what justly introduced or adopt at the end of the Holic Summit here in Abuja. We should all cooperate and enforce it and make sure that it works, and call on the security agencies as it was adopted. They should enforce the policy.
Thank you so much. Deputy National President, Nigeria Labour Congress, and the President, National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, Alhaji Najim Usman Nassin. It was nice talking with you on Insight.
Thank you very much.
Don't go away. Insight continues with the interview segment.